So hello.
Hi.
So what do you like coaching on? Are these little slots are sort of around 20, 30 minutes or so, and it's a chance for you to work on something, a change you'd like to make, a problem you'd like to solve, or some kind of shift that you'd like to work on. So fire
Okay.
away. What would be useful for you?
I think what I would really benefit from having your help with is seeing through a thought, a belief that I've got that I'm not good enough to be a professional musician. Because I've never done any kind of theory training, I've never done any kind of like music education as such. I'm self-taught. So I don't know things like scales, and I feel like because of my lack of knowledge, I guess, my lack of knowledge of theory, that I wouldn't be able to progress into doing music professionally. And I guess I just want you to help me to see through that if possible.
Hmm. Do you want to be a professional musician?
Yes, I'd love to be.
Doing
And
what?
playing bass guitar, maybe doing like kind of session vocals and stuff as well. But yeah, I love music. I genuinely have like a metronome going inside me all day, every day.
Hmm.
Like I just feel it, and I've always had that connection to music, so I love doing it. Um, but yeah, I guess I just don't know how to take that next step from being kind of amateur to doing it more professionally.
Okay. So, given that we have a relatively short amount of time, would it be more helpful to you to talk about next steps or about the what you're calling the belief that's been holding you back in some way?
Um,
What was
I
your
think
sense for what would be most transformational? What would be most impactful to you?
I
And
think just
either's fine, by the way. I'm not trying to influence you. There's no right answer.
yeah, I think probably just talking through the belief. I think because I think that that's the biggest thing that's stopping me from actually taking practical steps. Really.
Okay. If I move a little bit quick, then tell me to slow down. But I'm conscious that I want to move fairly quickly with you, so I may seem a little curt. But I'm not meaning to. So um, the thing that I don't know, because when you said there's a belief, that sentence makes sense to me. But at the moment, I don't have a very clear picture of like, well, how do you know that there's a belief that's a problem, for example? What's the information that you're getting, or um, what's your evidence that's telling you that I'm Shaneen and I have this belief? How do you know?
I guess I have a feeling that I'm not good enough, and I think it's more that's leading me to believe that there's a belief there that I'm not good enough. Because on a kind of fundamental foundational level, I understand that I am good enough and that I can do what I want to and that I can progress in my musical career. But there's just this feeling that stops me, this feeling of I'm not good enough.
Hmm. And presumably, I'm guessing, but presumably you've had that feeling pop up in all kinds of different places and circumstances.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay, me too.
yeah,
Me too. And if anyone watches this video, then I'm sure uh, everybody else will be able to say me too as well,
yeah.
which is um, maybe obvious, maybe not obvious to you. That's a universal thing that you're describing.
Right, okay.
I mean, like literally, it's the same
That's
for.
reassuring. That's reassuring.
What's reassuring about it? What do you what about that is striking or is touching?
I think it's reassuring that other people who maybe have had more training than me would feel that as well. So maybe it's kind of allowing me to see that maybe it's not my lack of training that is holding me back. Maybe it is just this feeling, and then believing that feeling to be true that's holding me back.
Yeah, I would say it's the last bit. It's the believing it to be true. And I'll go further and I would say that it's not the fact that you have a feeling that I have and that everybody watching this or every musician that you most look up to has, by the way. It's not a problem that you have a feeling. The problem is that there's a misunderstanding about what that means. Because there are certain things that feelings can mean, and there are certain things that feelings can't mean, and feelings cannot tell you about your level of musical skill. In fact, there's only really one thing that feelings can tell you about, and that's what gives rise to a feeling. And it's not something on the outside. Feelings don't come from the outside; they come from the inside.
Mm-hmm. So when I have sorry, I was just going to say, so when I have a feeling that I'm not good enough, that's only ever coming from a thought that I'm believing to be true, that I'm not good enough.
You see, I don't even think you're having a feel. I mean, it makes sense to me what you're saying. I'm not. I'm playing it back with love for what you've said. I don't mean to say that you said this and this isn't correct. I don't mean that, but it isn't that you've ever actually had a feeling, the feeling that is I'm not good enough. It's just that it's a feeling, and
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
and then it's a labeling,
Yeah, that makes sense.
and
Oh, I
that
can see
and that.
now.
Sorry, go on.
I know I just said I can see that now. Yeah, that's right. I've labelled the feeling as I'm not good enough, but the feeling's just a feeling. Doesn't actually have to mean anything. That's amazing.
It's a real feeling. It's a real feeling,
Yeah,
but it's not a real story.
yeah. No, I can see that now. I can have the feeling, but it doesn't necessarily need to stop me in doing what I want to do. I can still move forward and engage in the things that I enjoy doing, whether I have that feeling or not.
Mm. You can engage in the things you love doing even when you're not having an experience of loving them in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, despite the emotional weather. You know, another thing that feeling isn't a personal feeling either. You know, that the fact that you can have any feeling is something that we all share. So
Yeah.
that's what I mean. So I mean, this is there are the more you have eyes for this stuff, the more you'll see the evidence, and it's everywhere. That this is what, you know, how it seems more and more to me. I'm not saying that I'm not blind to it at times, because I am. I'm as blind to this, to the same misunderstanding. You know, but you know, one of the things what I think I did, yeah, I quoted it in Just Play, the Leonardo da Vinci supposedly said that he didn't do a good enough job, and that he didn't serve as fully as he could have reached his potential, and that, you know, and that you know, I'm not sharing it because it went in the book. I'm sharing it because it continues to kind of blow my mind that someone I consider to be at the pinnacle of genius, the pinnacle of human achievement, or at least it certainly seems like that sometimes to me. That it's not just like, oh yeah, all right, Leo, fine, it's okay for you, you're a genius. It's like it truly is a universal, that we have the capacity to have an insecure feeling and to then go trying to hook it onto something.
Mm.
And the ability to have a feeling, and the ability to innocently try and give it a meaning that isn't inherent in the experience. Trying to imbue it with meaning that's attaching it to the outside world, or to a personality, or to a history. We're all prone to doing that, but it's useful for people to know that there's no truth in that.
It's really reassuring to let the story go. And I think what I love in what you've just shared then, or what really spoke to me just now, was when you talked about kind of the emotional weather. And I just really saw quite clearly that we all universally have that experience of moving through different feelings and moods and thoughts, but they don't have to kind of dictate what we do. And I just saw that really clearly now. And yeah, like Leonardo da Vinci, he was an amazing creator and created some amazing things. Um, and yeah, of course he had insecure thoughts. He's human. It's our nature, isn't it, to flow through feeling secure, uncomfortable, knowing what we're doing, and then going through moments of not knowing what we're doing and not knowing how to move forward. And that's okay. And I think what I keep coming back to, and what I keep being reassured of, and what you've reassured me of already, just in the short time we've spent together, is that I can just keep coming home to myself, and that's where all the answers are. That's where all the answers always are, and that's always where the answers will be. Thank you for sharing that story. It was really helpful.
That's cool. You're welcome. The thing that's coming up for me right now, I suppose, is that you mentioned action steps,
Mm-hmm.
and next steps, and I suppose the I guess the thing that pops up for me is like, if assuming, sorry, my cat's trying to scratch the sofa, so if you hear some strange
Oh,
noises,
sorry.
my cat's like trying to join the party.
I had to put
um
mine outside because she always tries to get involved. Like as
I've
soon as
given up
the
trying
alarm
that because she scratches more. So no, she's going to probably do a little bit of vandalism and she'll be okay. She'll zoom around, but no, life goes on. She's all right. She gets jealous. That's what it is. I was gonna ask, like, if that, when assuming that belief could be maybe like put on hold, or shelved, or if we pretended that it could disappear forever, it won't. But if we could pretend that kind of feeling disappeared, what would become available to you in terms of actions that wasn't available until now?
I think I would probably just put myself forward more for like session musician slots. You know, like if people are asking for session bassists to be part of recordings and stuff, I would probably put myself forward more to do that kind of work. And yeah, just make myself more available for session musician um, sessions really, and just kind of start working more in that way. Maybe start depping at gigs and stuff with different bands that I enjoy, and just feel comfortable to be able to just learn the songs, show up and play, and just feel comfortable doing that. So I think those are the kinds of things that I'd probably do more of
Yeah,
if, you know, if I wasn't kind of feeling like I couldn't do that, or I
sure.
wasn't really able to.
Okay. So, and you could feel delightfully uncomfortable doing it as well, by the way. Doing that's also part of the, I would imagine, part of the path.
Yeah.
And it can be helpful. I mean, great, feel confident doing it, cool. But it doesn't mean that if you don't feel confident, something's gone wrong. That will be part of the journey, and continue to be when. Well, yeah, there's no rhyme or reason to it. It comes up. and I guess it's not a principle, but it's a kind of a rule of thumb that for some reason there's this mysterious thing about when you're doing the thing that you really need to do, when you're taking the steps that that are opening a door to a bigger game. I'm not saying make yourself feel uncomfortable in order to know you're playing a bigger game, but I'm saying when the opportunity arrives in your lap to play a bigger game, there can be all sorts of feelings that go on there. So that seems to be part of the way it pans out. Like I said, it's a rule of thumb, but there seems to be something in that from where I'm standing. Are those opportunities coming up then?
No, not at the moment, and I think that's probably because I've consciously and subconsciously not allowed that into my experience. So I feel like a good place for me to start would be to just allow that into my experience and to just see what shows up, and like you say, if anything kind of comes along that feels exciting, rather than stopping myself from going for it because I don't feel like I can, just going for it and seeing what happens. If it works out, great. If it doesn't,
sure,
fine.
sure.
But just kind of allowing myself to have that experience.
I mean, there's just one more piece I think I'd just like to maybe add. My experience of the people that I know who are doing session work on various. Just trying to think if I know any bass players that are doing that kind of thing. Not so many, but yeah, there are all kinds of sort of action steps that have happened before they get to be playing on. I mean, there's all kinds of range of what session means, isn't there? First of all, but it typically involves lots of playing, lots of sort of informal playing, lots of depping, lots of I guess failures, you might say, lots of insecure feelings. So I'm not saying that as soon as a limiting belief kind of disappears, then it's going to make it, there's going to be a session recording for Robbie the next day, but not I have no idea whether you want to do that or not. But but it kind of lays the foundations for the legwork that needs to happen, or the research that needs to happen to then. So there's a journey of like acquiring skill and stuff, potentially, or potentially
That
not.
makes
Who knows?
sense. Yeah, that makes sense, because I've definitely found, just outside of music, just in general, that I kind of have to get a place or a level in my own understanding where I'm able to actually carry out what's required of me in those situations. So yeah, at this moment in time, if somebody said, right, I've got a session gig for you, I might not actually be there in my understanding to be able to turn up and do it. But I think just allowing myself the opportunity to walk that path and to just go on that journey and to start that journey, and to not let this kind of fear that I don't know enough or I'm not good enough stop me from just walking that path, then that's a good thing, because it means that I'm more open to that actually becoming part of my reality than just completely closing it off altogether.
Yeah, you've got permission.
Yeah,
You've got permission.
yeah. It's it feels it feels like I have to give myself permission to do it as well, and to just trust that I can. And yeah, I am going to give myself permission to do the things that I enjoy doing, because I love music, and I think that if I didn't do it, or if I didn't at least allow the opportunity for it to happen, I think that could potentially be one of those things that I reflect back on and regret. And why didn't you just give it a chance? Why didn't you just try and see what happens, rather than not trying at all and then just letting that opportunity pass me by?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that
I'm not we can, again, it makes sense, and I've had I think in those terms too, um, and also it looks to me that whether something looks like it's passed you by or not, or whether whether it's a big deal or not, or whether it's important to solve it or not. All of that stuff is, again, it's labeling that's going on, and it's cool and it's useful to be able to do that, and to be able to discern and to be able to judge stuff, to have high standards. That's cool. But I think whether you can have a feeling of like, I'm giving myself permission for this. But when I said that you have permission, I mean that as a truth. I mean that your experience of how much permission you seem to have in the moment, that can vary. So like the kind of aperture for how much pursuing a professional career is allowed, that aperture can kind of open and close, but the capacity that's always there, it's a bit like the shutters are a mirage. I wouldn't be too concerned with how the shutters appear, because what's behind it is total, utter permission to have fun and play and do experiments, and it's there whether you like that or not. It's there whether that's kind of accepted or seen through or not. You have permission to do experiments and to find out and to learn and to see where it takes you.
Yeah,
that's already there, isn't it?
It's such a nice reminder. It's such a nice reminder, because I definitely experienced that sense of freedom, and yet for some reason I've not been able to see it in relation to what I do with music. So it's nice to just be reminded that actually that sense of freedom applies to everything, applies to all areas of my life and to everyone's life. It's there for all of us. We're just here to enjoy the experience, and whatever comes with that comes with that. And it's nice to be reminded.
Nice. Complete for now?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. It's lovely to talk to you.
You too. You too. Thanks for the time. It's been
Pleasure.
Lovely.
You're happy for this to be shared in the group?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, feel free.
Nice. Okay, great. Thank you for that. Superb.
No problem.
Right. Speak
Take
soon.
care.
Bye.
Bye.